So, hi everybody, thanks for coming today. So today is a special course because we have an invited speaker, which is Jonathan Dumas. So Jonathan is an engineer. He was graduated in 2012, so already some time ago. Then he worked sometimes at the CEA in France, not the CIA, okay. Which is in English the French Alternative Energies and Atomic Energy Commission.
And at that time it was only nuclear.
Okay.
So right now we talk about renewable energy because
Okay. So then you continued into nuclear because you went to EDF to work at the Shaw nuclear power plant, where he was also working as an engineer. And after 2 years, he was supervising a team of 30 people there. Then he switched to a smaller company called ELEC, which is an energy retailer, and he was in charge of managing the energy portfolio there. So this job is partly, especially linked to what he's going to present today.
Yes.
And finally, his best job so far. 2 years ago, he decided to join the University of Liège as a research engineer and assistant, and he's working mainly, if I'm not wrong, or is supposed to work on PV and wind generation forecast.
Yes.
And finally, but not least, he's also a member of an association called Les Shifters, which aims at providing information and discussion around carbon-free transition. And today is going to speak about two topics. So first, energy supplier.
How to build an energy
residential energy supplier, and then how the retailer builds its offer, right?
How to price it.
Yeah, how to price it.
Okay. It is divided into parts, so you can have a short break.
Yeah, so enjoy the presentation and please welcome our speaker.
Thank you, Antoine. It's the first time in my life I had such an introduction. Quite impressed. So thank you and good morning for you to be there today. And so we will do this. I have a maximum 2 hours.
Yes.
But it's plenty of time. I will not take 2 hours. So I will divide my presentation into 2 parts and we will have a short break. So, and if you have any questions, like you are not so many, just raise your hand and I just take the question right away. You don't have to wait for the end of the presentation. So so this morning I will talk about how an energy supplier builds and prices an electricity offer, and it was a part of my job when I was working for a French energy supplier. And I divide this presentation into 2 parts. The first part is how to build an offer and what is a green offer, because we always talk about a green offer. Everything is green now. Huh? You go to a supermarket, it's green, bio, green. It's the same thing for gas and electricity now. You go to an energy supplier, it says it's green. Okay, so what is a green energy offer? And in the second part, it will be more about how to price this energy offer. So because when you buy your electricity or when you buy your gas, you pay something. You can take your bill and you will see the price, and it is always a fixed price. You can have a look at it, but you pay a fixed price per kilowatt hour of electricity used or per kilowatt hour of gas. So how is it possible that this price is fixed? Because you have seen in the previous lesson that on the energy market, the price is always fluctuating. So how is it possible? The energy supplier come to and say, oh, no problem, for you it's fixed. Okay, magic or not. So the second part will be about this. So this first part is about how to build an energy offer and what is a green offer. Okay. Just to begin and to dive into the topic and some figures about the primary energy consumption here in Belgium. So I took all the number here, so you can have a look. It comes the link. But just to say, on the left part here, so this is a primary energy consumption. Primary energy means it's energy that has not been transformed. And you can see that oil, it's about 1/3 of the total energy consumed in Belgium. So when we say, now you see a lot of the energy is green, you can have a look. 1/3 is just oil. Okay? Then after that you have gas. So if we just sum oil and gas, around 2/3 of the primary energy used in Belgium is fossil energy. And then we have the nuclear, and then some other energy, and you can have a look at the renewable here. It's not even 10%. So this is the energy, primary energy consumption, and then here it is the final energy consumption. So it means when you transform it. So for instance, this is nuclear, but with nuclear you can do some electricity, but you know that the efficiency is not 1. It would be so great and so magic that you have an efficiency of 1. But for instance, when you are producing electricity, you have the famous law of Carnot, which says the efficiency is 1/3. So 2/3 of the energy just lost into the nature when you come from the primary source to the final energy. So that's why here, when you go from left to the right, it's not the same number. But so when we look at the final energy consumption, so after transformation, you can see, so now we have electricity, because electricity is not a primary source of energy. Electricity is just energy that has been transformed. You can take some oil, some coal, some gas, some nuclear, some renewable, and with that you produce electricity. But electricity, it's not a primary energy source. It's after transformation. You transform some energy into electricity. And so here now we have electricity, and it represents almost 20% of the energy. So when you can hear into the news that we will transform the society and whatever it is, and they talk only about electricity, they talk only about 20% of the problem. Remember that. And then you have the gas, which is much more than electricity, and this is logic because when you are at home, if you have a look at your energy bill, just take a look and you will see that you spend much more money to heat yourself than just to light the smartphone or whatever it is. So gas, it's about 20%, 25%, electricity 20%. And then you have the oil. So just remember that electricity, it's 18% of the final energy consumption, and gas 25%. And here today we'll mostly talk about electricity, but it is the same logic for gas. Now, if we have a look about the final energy consumption per sector, you can see that for the industry it's 20%, transportation almost the same, and residential, so residential, we are residential, it's just us, it's 20%. But here we are talking about electricity and heat. And when we have a look about that, 2/3 of the energy that we use as residential, it's for heating. So remember that, you spend much more energy just to heat yourself than just to charge your smartphone, television, or whatever it is. Here you can have a look at the Belgian electricity production mix from 2012 to the last year. And blue is nuclear. Here we are talking only about electricity. So blue is nuclear, gas is red, green, sorry. Coal, it's there, so you can see that Belgium shut down its coal plants in 2015. Wind is purple, and solar is yellow, water is hydraulic, and other, I don't know what it is. But also, you have a look that you can see that in the energy mix in Belgium, most of the time it is nuclear, about 40% for electricity. And gas is like, yes, between 15 and 20%, and the renewable is only a small part. So here it is 12%. But you probably you have heard that now for it has been now for 15 years that we say we have a lot of renewable energy. But it's only 15%. I don't see a lot of increase, but maybe we'll have more in the future. But it's just to keep in mind that in Belgium, most of the electricity is produced by nuclear and gas, and not renewable. Even if we would like to have more renewable, but these are the facts. And now, I don't know if you have some knowledge about basic physics, but on average, residential, so you and me, we consume around 3,000 to 5,000 kilowatt-hours of electricity per year, or something like that. Of course, if you are 6 in the same house, it's not the same that if you are 1, but for 2 or 3 people, it's like something like that. And gas, it is between 10,000 and 20,000, so 4 times, 5 times, okay. Okay, but it doesn't tell you much. But 1 kilowatt-hour of energy, with 1 kilowatt-hour you can carry 100 kilo from the sea level to almost the highest mountain here in Europe, just with 1 kilowatt-hour. And every year we have 1,000 of these kilowatt-hour. So just so you can grasp how much energy in fact we have, but for us it's just like that, we just plug into, we have the energy, but we don't realize that with that you can do a lot of things. Or with 1 kilowatt-hour you can do 13 kilometers by foot, or 2 kilometers with a car. You can just use 1 kilo of TNT with 1 kilowatt-hour. So imagine with 3 tons of TNT, or if you just take 1 liter of oil, you burn it and you have 10 kilowatt-hour. So it means that we have a lot of energy. So in fact we are like Iron Man. In fact we are Iron Man. With that energy we are Iron Man. You don't realize it, but we are Iron Man. We have plenty of energy. And so you can have a look at this guy. His name is Robert. He's a German guy. You see he's quite fitness. He's a bull. And if you want to have a look at this video, I think you can take a little bit of time for that. He will try to beat a toaster. So this guy, like against a toaster, maybe some of you have already seen this video? No? Okay. So how much energy does it take to toast a slice of bread? Quite fitted, this man. He's a Panzer, in fact. German. So, against the toaster.
You ready? Everything's okay with the handlebar? Seat post? Shoes? Okay.
Everyone in position now. We're getting ready for take. And remember that when Robert loses power, the toaster will pop up.
Come on, Robert, you can do it.
To lie down.
My legs not.
You know, put them up. The monster is beating.
Okay. We consume thousands of kilowatts per year. Not bad. So you see the energy just to toast
Nobody can
a
believe
slice of bread.
if you do it in the fake test with the toaster, nobody you can believe how much work it is to toast it.
No,
I know it now. It's crazy. It's fucking hard.
There's a lot of Robert to do what we do every day, in fact. Thousands of Robert probably. Toaster challenge. You can do that with your friend if you want. Or not. So yes, we have in fact a lot of energy, and so we are Iron Man. And in fact, we are not Iron Man directly, but it is indirectly with energy. In fact, we use a lot of machines, and thanks to energy, we are like Iron Man. In fact, we just replace slaves by energy slaves. Exactly the same thing. So every day we use the equivalent of hundreds of robots to do the job for us. So right now I have my book, and I have several robots that are filling it. Some robots into that too. So we have robots everywhere that are doing the job for us. So thank you, energy, it's great. So we use a lot of energy. Okay, so it was the introduction, but now you should be like, but okay, he's talking about energy, but we are supposed to talk about energy supplier. Okay. So what are the energy market players? Probably you have already seen some of them, but just to have them in mind. You have first the energy producers. The energy producers, they produce energy. So you can have oil, coal, gas, nuclear, renewable, and some other. So all of them that produce energy. Then for the electricity, you can convert some of this energy into electricity. You use turbines and whatever, and from nuclear you can produce electricity, and from coal you can produce electricity and whatever. Then this electricity goes to the grid, and for that you have the TSO and DSO, the transporter system operator and the distributor system operator. So it's like the highways for electricity. The electricity goes to the grid, then it goes to us, and we consume electricity, or it goes for some companies and they consume electricity. So you have the producer, the electricity goes to the grid, and then you have the customer consumers. Okay, these are physical fluxes. You have also the market operators, we'll talk about them a little bit later, and you have the energy supplier. So in this presentation, we focus on the energy supplier. How does an energy supplier buy for you and for me electricity so that I can consume some of it? So the goal of this presentation is to try to answer to some of these questions. What does an energy supplier? How does an energy supplier build a residential electricity or gas offer? What is a green offer? What is green? And how to compare energy supplier. So first, what is the energy supplier perimeter? If you have any question, just interrupt me. And sometime I can speak very fast, so you can say, oh, do not hesitate, okay? Okay, so what is the energy supplier perimeter? It is a trusted third party. It is, in fact, the middleman between me, the consumer, and the producer and the energy market. It does the job for me because I do not take my phone to say, okay, I would like to buy 2 kilowatts of electricity today because I need some and whatever it is. It's impossible to do that. So it does the job for me. He buys electricity for me, but he does not only do that, he's also doing the customer care, because if I have any problems, I can call him and he will do the job for me. He is also the balancing responsible party. It means that an energy supplier has a lot of consumers, so thousands of consumers, and he is obliged to buy energy so that they can consume this amount of energy. And if he doesn't buy enough energy, the TSO will put a fine. You say, hey man, your consumer, they want energy, and you didn't buy them enough energy, and you tell us that you are buying this amount of energy, but in fact it did not happen, so you have a fine. So he's a balancing responsible party. And this is really important. And sometimes they provide you additional services like insurance, bill installations to make more money. But the key parts are this one. And if you want to know, so an energy supplier is completely different from the DSO or TSO. Here in Belgium, the TSO is Elia for electricity. And for the gas, I think it is Fluxys. So they are responsible for transportation, so the highways of electricity and gas. And then you have a DSO that from the highway, it's like the small roads to your village or towns. And you have several DSO in Belgium. And if you want to have a look at it, you can click on this link and you put your city and it will tell you what is your DSO. But I think here in Liège it is Reza. But you will have someone different, for instance, in Brussels or Anvers. But these guys are responsible for the small roads of electricity up to your house. Okay? but they are different for the energy supplier. The energy supplier, it does not make the job to transport or distribute electricity or gas. It doesn't do that. His job is to buy electricity and to sell it to you, and to be the middleman between you and the DSO and TSO. So that means one day if you want to go to an energy supplier, you say, okay, I would like a contract with you, okay, welcome. Then the energy supplier, he will call the DSO to say, this guy now is in my perimeter. So I am responsible for this new customer. But you don't call directly the DSO, you don't do that, he will do it for you. Okay. So now, how does an energy supplier build a residential energy offer? So you have the producer, you have the transportation, distribution DSO, the energy supplier, the consumers, small and large, so we are small consumer. And we have the energy markets. So you have different possibilities. These are the physical fluxes. And here in green it is money. So the energy supplier, he can buy electricity on the energy market. So he goes to a trader, he says, okay, I would like this amount of energy, and the trader goes to the energy market and he buys the amount of energy. Okay, so money flux. And then he sells it to the consumer. It is one option. But he could do something else, he could go directly to the producer. The energy supplier doesn't have to go directly to the market, the energy market. He could bypass it and say, okay, I would like a bilateral contract with you, with a producer. And so like that, we bypass the energy market. Or you can mix. You can buy some energy on the market and you can buy some energy directly to the producer. So it completely depends on the strategy of the energy supplier. But for instance, most of the time, so large consumers, so we are talking about big companies, industrial companies like Solvay, for instance. Solvay, which is I think a Belgian company in chemical industry, needs a lot of energy. And in fact, when you need a lot of energy, sometimes they build their own producing plant because it costs so much energy for them that they don't want to go to the market and to have additional fees. So they say, okay, we will produce our own energy. Sometimes the big consumer, they do that, or they go directly to a producer for having a contract to bypass the energy market. But for residential, so ours, we need small amount of energy. And the energy supplier, most of the time, they do a mix between producer, contract directly with producer, and the energy market. And some energy suppliers, they just go to the market. They don't care the producer, they go to the market and they try to optimize. So you have several ways of doing it, but basically, just keep in mind that you have two possibilities: buy energy on the market or directly to the producer. So what are the energy components of the electricity bills? So here it is in Wallonia and Brussels because you don't have the same taxes depending on where you are. Here, for instance, in Wallonia, if you take your electricity bill, so the amount of energy you use and the amount of euro that you have to pay for this energy, you have only 20% of the bill that is just for energy. So it means 80% of what you pay is not for energy. You have 1/3 for the distribution transportation taxes. So you pay for the TSO and DSO directly, 1/3. And then the other part is several taxes. So keep in mind that when you pay your energy, and it is the same thing for gas, so for heating. For gas or for electricity, only 20–25% of what you pay is only for energy. So most of what you pay is for transportation and distribution. It's like when you use your car, you have to pay for the highways, in fact. And also taxes. And so in Brussels, it's the same thing. You see 20% here in Wallonia for energy, 23% in Brussels. So you see it's approximately the same parts. And here it is the same for gas. So you see, well, it's a little bit more for gas. 29% of what you pay is for gas, energy. But it's maximum 1/3. So 2/3 of what you pay is not for energy, it's for something else. But it's the same thing when you go to the gas station when you would like to buy some oil for your car, in fact, most of what you pay is just taxes. It is only a small part of what you pay that is directly for the oil that you use. It's the same thing for electricity and for gas. But this is important because the energy supplier, he buys energy and he sells energy. He doesn't care about taxes and distribution taxes. So he will try to optimize this part. He will try to minimize the price of this part. So the energy supplier has a very small margin for doing some benefits. Okay. Do you have any questions so far? Is it okay? So what is a green offer? What is green energy? I think that most of you have heard that now we have, it is possible to go to an energy supplier and to ask for green energy. But what is green energy? If we speak from the point of view of the regulation, what does say the regulation? It is a European directive, so you have the number here, you have the source here, you can have a look at it, it's several pages, horrible to read. But they define what is named a guarantee of origin. It is a kind of tracking instrument. And what does it say? It just says that you have a list of producer, of kind of energy producer. So for instance, solar energy, wind energy, hydraulic and whatever. They define a list of energy and they say for this producer, when they produce electricity, they can have a guarantee of origin. So when they produce 1 megawatt of wind energy, for instance, wind electricity, you can add to the energy part a guarantee of origin. It's like a paper, an electronic paper, and it's like an ID card that goes along with the energy, and that just say this is a guarantee of energy, so it does say that it is green energy. So this is a regulation, and it is a European directive, the same in every country of Europe. And so they define a list of kind of energy that can have some guarantee of origin. So you have some electricity producer that can have some guarantee of origin, and some other, for instance, like coal power plant, or gas power plant, oil power plant, and nuclear power plant, they cannot have guarantee of origin. It doesn't tell you anything about the carbon footprint. It is not a list where they say, for instance, if you use nuclear energy, it has this carbon footprint, or this wind farm has this amount of carbon footprint, so you can have a guarantee of energy. No, no, no. It is not that. It's just a list of energy producers. And so some of these electricity producers, for instance, wind farm, they produce energy and they have a guarantee of origin. But it's two separate things. You have the energy that is physical, it goes to the grid, and then you can use this energy. And you have on the other part the guarantee of origins. And they can go to a market for guarantee of origin. And for instance, if you have an energy supplier that buys electricity to a wind farm, so it goes directly to the producer, he says, okay, I would like to buy your electricity from your wind farm. He buys the electricity. And he said, I would like also to buy your guarantee of origin. Because if I buy your guarantee of origin, I can attach it to your energy, and then when I sell my energy to the consumers, I can say that my offer is green. It is like that an energy offer is green. But he could also say, I don't care about guarantee of origin because I don't want to make a green offer, it's not good. I just buy your energy, so even if it is a wind farm, that could be green, just say I buy your energy, then I sell the energy to the consumers, but he cannot tell that it is a green offer. For an energy supplier to say the energy is green, he has to prove that he bought the guarantee of origin. And you, as consumers, you could ask to your energy supplier, where are your guarantee of origin? Because I have a contract with you, and it tells that it is a green offer. Okay, cool. But prove me that you bought the guarantee of origin. And he has to do that. He has to tell you, okay, you consume, for instance, 3,000 of kilowatt hour of this offer. I buy for you 3 megawatt hour of guarantee of origin, and it is there. So it is okay. It is green offer. But it doesn't tell you anything about the carbon footprint. It is something that is legal. It is regulatory. Did you understand this mechanism? Because it's not always easy to understand. It could be a little bit strange at the first point. And some people, when I talk about that, they say, yes, but it makes sense, because when you have a look on the grid, how it is, you cannot select the electrons that comes from a wind farm and select the electrons that come from a PV farm and from a nuclear plant, and you have some tunnels of electrons for wind farm, tunnels of electrons for PV plant, coal plant, and if you want a PV solar offer, you say, okay, I take this tunnel of electrons. You cannot do that. Everything is mixed into the grid. You cannot, everything is mixed. So in fact, when we consume energy, we just consume the average mix of the country. So here in Belgium, it is 40% of nuclear, 20% of gas, 25% of gas, and 15% of renewables. And so it could be strange, because you could say, okay, but I have a green offer with my energy supplier, but I consume the average mix of the country. It is completely true. Because you cannot plug directly to a wind farm. You could, but it is difficult for a residential to do that. For an industrial, it is possible. But for residential, you cannot plug directly to a wind farm. So, in fact, we consume the mix of the country, but we can have, from the part of the energy offer, something that is green and something that is not green. And so you have to think differently, and not to think about the energy, but to think about how the financial transfer is. In fact, when we think about that, it just says, when I buy a green offer, I pay for two things. I pay for the energy from one part, and I pay also for the guarantee of origin of the other part. So if you want to have a green offer, you are willing to pay for these two parts, and with the guarantee of origin, with this money, in fact, it should go to someone who has produced energy from wind and solar. So when we have a look at it, we could say, okay, it's not so bad, because it's a way to finance some producer like wind farm or PV, for instance. So, but I will come back to that later. But I think at the beginning they wanted to design something like that, to help energy producer with wind farm or PV plant to sell energy by, it's a kind of financial help with guarantee of origin. But we will come back after that. Okay, so I am an energy supplier. I would like to build a green market offer. So one way to doing it is, okay, I go to the energy market, and I talk with some traders, and they say, okay, I would like to buy this amount of energy. And the trader says, okay, what kind of energy do you want? You could say, oh, I don't care. For instance, buy coal electricity from coal. I completely don't care. Okay, so he goes to some producer, he buys some electricity, but then, as an energy supplier, I will buy some guarantee of origin that comes from somewhere else. And then I mix the energy and the guarantee of origin, and I can build a green energy offer. That's why I name non-green to green market offer. So it is possible, legally you can do that, no problem at all. Or you could say, okay, I would like to make a mix. I will buy some energy on the market. I don't care where it comes from. It could come from coal, power plant, nuclear, whatever. I don't care. But also, I have some bilateral contracts with a wind farm or whatever. So you can buy the guarantee origin from them, and you mix with the energy here, and it's okay. It's a green market offer. Or you could do a 100% green market offer. So you say, okay, I go to the market, but I specify to them, you only buy energy from wind farm or PV farm, and you buy also the guarantee of origin. Okay, so it is also a green market offer. And the last one, you say, okay, I don't want to go to the energy market. I would like to have a bilateral contracts with an energy producer, and I buy you also the guarantee of origin. And it is also a green offer. But, so what are the differences between these four offers? None. There are no differences. They are all green. But there are 4 different ways of building an energy offer, and it is not the same at the end. But from legally, they are all green because you have the guarantee of origin, so they are green. So how an energy supplier builds a residential electricity offer? He has several options. He can go directly to the producer. He can build a market-based offer by going to the market. He can make a mix between producer and market. And what is a green energy offer? It is only about guarantee of origin. You buy guarantee of origin. So in fact, if you think about it, it is more about the way you spend the money. It's not about energy, it's about what are the financial fluxes. If you go directly to the producer, you as customer, if you choose an energy supplier that tells you, okay, me, I buy energy directly to the producer, so you know that when you pay your electricity bill, your money, where does it go? A part to the producer and another part to the energy supplier. If you go to another energy supplier that tells you, I go to the market, you don't know in fact where your money is. You just go to the market, and then with the market it can go to some producer, some trader, or whatever. So it is everything about financial transparency. And so what you have to bear in mind is that a green energy offer does not mean low carbon footprint. Just keep that in mind, because you just consume what is on the main grid, and it is a mix of the electricity country. So it has nothing to do with a low carbon footprint. Green offer is guarantee of origin. I hope it is okay with you. So now we can maybe talk about the energy suppliers that we have here in Belgium. So we have several energy suppliers in Belgium. Here is a list. So maybe you know some of them, probably like, probably you know ENGIE, I think, Luminus, which is EDF now, Lamperis maybe, probably, and but you see that you have other energy suppliers, so in fact we have a lot of choice. And so if we have a look at what are the shares, in fact Electrabel, which is ENGIE, for electricity and gas in 2018, it has almost here 40% of the clients in terms of energy and 30% for gas. So the biggest energy supplier in Belgium is ENGIE. And then after you have Luminus, EDF Luminus. And then you see that it is small shares. And if we have a look about how are the guarantee of origin distributed per country, here in Belgium, if we take all of the energy offer, in fact only 30% of the guarantee of origin come from Belgium. So it means 70% of the guarantee of origin come from other countries. So it is a big market. So you are in Belgium, you are an energy supplier here in Belgium, you can build an energy offer, you can build a green energy offer for Belgian consumers, but you don't have to buy the guarantee of origin in Belgium. You can buy the electricity in Belgium, and you can buy guarantee of origin in another country of Europe, and you mix, and it is green. So it is like a big European market. So this is really about the way the money is distributed. So I cannot tell you this energy supplier is better than this one. No. I think that in fact everybody has to make a choice and to think about himself and to say, okay, I have to decide about several criteria, several possible criteria. I could say, okay, I would like to choose an energy supplier on its energy mix. For instance, I would like this energy supplier because he buys electricity from most of the time from wind farm or from solar or from nuclear. It is one way. Or you could say, okay, this energy supplier it has a higher financial transparency because when I pay my electricity bill, I know where the money is going because it has direct bilateral contracts with some producers. So I know that when I spend the money, this money goes to the producer. But if it goes to the market, energy market, I don't know to how it goes. Or you could say, okay, this energy supplier, he buys Belgian guarantee of origin because he tells me, okay, this guarantee of origin comes from Belgium. Or no, maybe it comes from France and I would like to have some guarantee of origin that comes from France. So it's up to you. In fact, you do whatever you want. But it is very difficult when you don't know all of these things, in fact, to select an energy supplier. Because they don't tell you directly, okay, this offer, so I buy this electricity from this plant, here I go to the market, here I buy this guarantee of origin. No, they just tell you it's green, 100% green, and in fact you have 10% of discount. Oh, I take it, it's good. It's very difficult to understand that. So you have to ask questions, in fact, to your energy supplier. If you really want to understand what he's doing, you have to ask questions. So it's not easy at all. But bear in mind that a green energy offer does not mean low carbon footprint. The carbon footprint, it is the energy mix of the country. So this is, when you are selecting an energy supplier, it is more about where you would like to spend your money, in fact. You have your money and you say, okay, if I buy energy, I would like that my money it goes to this actor, to this actor, or to this actor. It is more about that. So this is the end of the first part.